Welcome to the Big Green Show. I have a guest today because I've read a few investments that happened just recently. One was this Volocopter that I think now has Daimler and now also the owner of Volvo, Chinese company Geely, who invested some $55 million into it. And it's like an electric helicopter, to the untrained eye at least, that's what it looks like. We've seen Heart Aerospace, Swedish company that builds an electric airplane that got funding from Y Combinator fairly recently. We've seen Lilium Jet, also a German. This Volocopter is also German, and this Lilium Jet also from Germany. Gotten some impressive developments into their aircraft. All electrified aircraft. So a lot of this seems to be happening now in different places. I know very little. I would say I even know hardly anything about this space. So I brought in Christian. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great to have you here. Christian and me have been knowing each other and working together, and I know your expertise in this field. I mean, you're an engineer for starters, but you're actually a certified pilot for flying ultralight vehicles, and you are interested in this space.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very much happening right now, so very exciting.
You haven't flown any of these that we mentioned now, right?
No, I would very much like to do that.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, they are quite simple to fly. It's
that's why
extremely simple to fly
right.
compared to an aeroplane is, well, you can learn that in like 20 hours to fly one safely.
Yeah.
If you go to helicopter, it's much harder.
Okay.
But then, of course, you have what you name VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing, that makes it possible to basically land and start everywhere with just a little spare place around.
Yeah.
And that is like a game changer.
And that's an advantage of these vehicles.
Yeah, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, like this kind of personal drones.
Yeah.
Which is taking off.
Which is what
right
you would
now.
call the Volocopter, for example.
That's definitely personal drone. The Volocopter, the E-Hang, and actually the Lilium Jet also.
The E-Hang is a Chinese company.
Chinese
that also
company,
does an electric helicopter, yeah.
Exactly. So basically, these kind of model helicopters, which you can actually buy one working for like 30 euros.
Yeah.
In the shop, that
small,
you can fly.
tiny,
Small one, tiny one, like this.
But you mean it's the
Very
same
fun
construction
flying.
principles?
But it's the same
in the big
principle.
One.
So I mean, a helicopter, which is the closest in performance.
Yeah.
Basically VTOL. You can vertical takeoff and landing, which is the game changer. You don't need to go to an airport. You don't need to stuff in 20, 30, 40, 300 people in a plane to go somewhere and have all these security checks and everything. You can basically grab it as a taxi on the street and go wherever you want. So that's a big game changer.
What will it cost, though? Do you know anything about the cost for it? How low? I mean, will this actually be for the everyday?
I mean, if you look at today, I mean, the convenience is obvious.
Yeah.
Why do billionaires go with helicopter and a private jet? Because it's so convenient. But it's also extremely expensive.
Yeah.
A helicopter is cheap helicopter, simple helicopter would start with maybe €300 an hour in operational costs, including pilot, fuel, and all the services. And mainly a helicopter, I mean, that's a couple of thousand moving parts. And if one breaks, the helicopter falls down and everyone dies. Yeah. That's a big problem. Right. So that costs a lot of money to prevent that from happening. You
have to make a lot of security checks before you actually take off.
Yeah. So exactly, if you look at for example, the Volocopter, I think they use 11 electric motors. So it's 11 moving parts. Right. That's it. Yeah. And they can probably keep flying with two broken.
That's good to know.
So it's very, very much safer in that way. So maintenance becomes a non-issue. Okay. And basically, it's very much easier to fly because you can automate these systems in a totally different way than you could with, for example, a helicopter. So it's suddenly you don't need a helicopter pilot needs to be really skilled. Yeah. Here, basically, you could put the gaming teenagers on it. Of course, you need to have the knowledge of airspace and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's also maybe the biggest challenge to actually make this happen is how do you integrate these things in urban environments and into the existing airspace and existing airspace structures.
Gaming teenagers.
Absolutely, I think that's.
What does this mean for environment in cities? I mean, if you talk about polluting cities, it's both noise pollution, it's particles, it's the CO2 emissions, of course, from our cars. Can this actually have an impact on that, or?
Yeah, of course, because it's a very smart way to electrify movement.
Right.
I mean, you can basically go the straight line.
Yeah.
So if you look at Manhattan, for example, where you have lots of lakes around it, you can just jump from one side to another instead of sitting in the car for 2 hours.
Right.
So of course, it for the right user case, it have a great impact on that.
Intuitively, of course, everybody thinks that flying is now more or less off the table.
Yes, I think that, and if you look at all these guys, I mean,
in terms of climate impact.
Climate impact, yeah, and I mean, how close is it? I mean, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
And if you look at all these guys, they plan to have these operational.
We say guys because it is mainly guys.
Mainly guys, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we also,
Yeah.
it's tough reality. So hopefully it will change.
Yeah.
See more female
Shout
pilots.
out, ladies! Go join some of these companies. Yeah.
And of course, I mean, what happening in automation of these planes. I mean, today you can basically fly a standard aeroplane without the pilots. Start, flight, landing. I mean, if you have really bad weather conditions, you're only allowed to land fully automatically. Some planes in some airports. I mean, that's how far it's gone. So it's actually easier to automate this than automate, for example, like car driving in an urban or rural environment.
Yeah.
So that's also a big cost. I mean, if you cut the pilot, you cut fuel costs, you cut the operational costs, suddenly we're talking taxi pricing.
Yeah.
Well
I
maybe
think,
the double tax price or whatever.
I think also this Swedish company, Heart Aerospace, they've said that they of course want to go fully autonomous, but most of these seem to be targeting going into traffic in 2025. So there's a way maybe the autonomous flying is then already here completely.
Yeah, it's also a big difference if you go autonomous on like these guys, the Heart guys. It's a conventional airplane with electric propulsion.
Right.
So they need the airports, and then they have the system to go quite autonomous there. Yeah. So it's more of a regulatory issue to get it aligned with all the requirements and get the regulation updated to handle it and so on.
Because they actually want to replace short haul flights.
Yes.
They're saying, I think they're targeting that potentially they could grab a third of the short haul flights in Sweden with electric planes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I think it's two different games.
Yeah.
And if you look at these like personal carrier drones or whatever you should call them, urban air traffic, they call it. I mean, that's more shorter distance. These drone-like, they have a little bit less efficiency than a helicopter, for example, because they have smaller rotors, and bigger rotors are more efficient, but also more noise and so on. But on the other hand, they go with electric motors, which is like 3 times more efficient than a standard petrol engine, which is used in smaller helicopters. But
let's talk batteries.
Batteries, yeah.
Let's talk about it, because again, this Heart Aerospace, I've understood that they have some. It's like some 4 Tesla batteries that they're planning to have in their airplane.
Yeah.
And if those 4 Tesla batteries, actually, if they have some 19 passengers, I think it was in that one. If they go back and forth a bit, it's a couple of 100 passengers in a day, actually going potentially back and forth.
With
4 Tesla batteries.
Very high. The existing. If you have a plane, it's very high utilization. They go back and forth,
exactly.
all the time. So it's they use it extremely well.
Yeah.
But
I mean, maybe you simply can't have more batteries because of the weight. Or
weight is always a problem when we go flying, and I think the battery technology is what's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, all the rest is there.
Yeah.
I mean, we have good enough motors. It's just about how good the batteries will become. That is what will make this happen. And we can see the trajectory for the battery development, so it will happen. It will happen soon.
Yeah.
And then the next challenge is, like I said, regulatory stuff. But it's very different if you look at an electrified classic plane with wings, which is very efficient, as you say. It uses almost all the power for takeoff, and then when it cruises to the destination, very little compared to takeoff, and then landing is nothing. So basically, if you go back to these kind of personal drones, they are totally different because they use a lot of power all the time, which limits them in a different way. But on the other hand, they have this vertical takeoff and limit. One of the most interesting things, my favorite, is the Lilium jet, because that
That's your favorite.
It's my favorite because it's a little bit of innovative concept. It's a little bit more complicated because they use several small fans inside of like tiltable wings. So basically they can tilt them downwards, make a vertical takeoff, tilt the wings and fly, and then they use the wings that are very efficient, much more efficient than a helicopter rotor. So they have what they're looking to in 2025 is to have commercial flights going like taxi flights, especially in and out of airport to the cities, and with a range of 300 kilometers.
Okay.
And that will and they go about 300 kilometers an hour, which is much faster than other drones. So it's a 1 hour travel for 300 kilometers, and I mean that is a real game changer. And it's still a very simple construction with very little maintenance in it, and you know it's really gonna change how we see it, and it's coming very soon.
It's interesting to see all these videos on YouTube, and it seems like science fiction, but as you say, let's see how soon we actually have people flying in these.
Yeah, flying they already do, but like, so when you land at Dubai Airport, London Airport, you can actually go out and grab one, and it doesn't cost you hundreds of euros like a helicopter ride. It's gonna cost you, you know, well, you can take the taxi, it's 60 euros, or you take this and it's 90. And it's 3 times quicker, and you get closer to where you want to be, you know.
Well, let's see. We'll keep an eye on this development. It's hard not to. I think we'll all be affected by it, and I think we'll all see the development as it happens. So, good to have you on.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very pleasant to be here and talk about things that I like talking about.
Yeah. Great. Bye.